So yeah, North America, we've got Gunslinger Girl. This is a perfect example. Okay.
Oh no.
How many people here have seen a gun on TV? Okay, hands down. How many people have seen a gun in real life? Okay, that's a lot. How many people have seen a dick on TV? Less. Less. How many people have seen a dick in real life? Way more! Guys, somebody else's dick. Somebody else's dick. Back row. So in North American film, and this actually affects Otafest because of how the ratings go. In North America, if you have a gun on screen, G. If a gun is firing on screen, G. If somebody dies from having a gun fired at them, right? If there's a picture of, if there's a depiction in film of me going and just blowing his brains out all over the room, I think it gets to PG-13 for spatter gore, right? Okay. But if you show fucking tits, oh man, no. Nobody under the age of 18 is allowed to see fucking tits. You know why? Because they'll turn them into rapist murderers. Seriously, guns and death and stuff, and tits, and then dicks. Oh my god, if you have a dick anywhere in your show, RX. Like, no, that's bad and naughty. Because as we know, tits are way worse than guns. I mean, for society, if we had the choice between getting rid of tits and getting rid of guns, as a society, we would be better off getting rid of and then if you add dicks into the equation, it's like you can have tits and guns, and tits giving a tit job to a gun, and then you can just have a guy standing there naked with his dick out, and they'd be like, there's a dick on the screen! Our children's mind will explode in dicks! They don't become rapists! By the way, let your mom know when this started.
Oh, she's watching this? She's going to be watching this. This isn't live streamed
yet.
No, it's not.
She's going to be watching this.
It's going to be uploaded tonight.
Showing this to her.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing is, so with the anime, right? Because the Japanese, because the whole thing with you can't show dicks, you can't show tits, guns are okay. That was the 50s and the 60s. When McCarthy came in with the Comics Code Authority and said, like, so before the 50s, North American comics, like Green Hornet and shit like that, they're like, let's talk about drugs, death, criminals, prostitution, the things that we as a society are dealing with. Kind of like science fiction deals with those things, but they were doing it in comic form, and it was considered appropriate for adults to read. Then McCarthy comes in the 50s and the 60s and says, children read these comic books. For the children's sake, we're going to prevent people from writing about anything except Mom and Apple Pie down in the States, since they were the major producer of comics. It happened up here too. So what happened was comics for about 40 years just became this pablum grade 6 stuff. You couldn't talk about sex, you couldn't talk about drugs, you couldn't talk about death. If you ever read Plato's Republic, and he says, don't let the kids find out about death until after the war, that's what happened in the States with Comics Code Authority. And then we started bringing the Japanese animation stuff over, and the Japanese didn't have that shit. Back in the 50s, they were like, well, the Americans nuked us, so I guess we get to rebuild our society. And they did. But they didn't just adopt everything in North America wholesale, because they were like, so we have the Bible, and it's got some raunchy shit in it that nobody talks about. Like, there's a bit in, I think it's Ezekiel, where God's like, Israel is my chosen people, but they're whoring themselves out. And it literally says, Israel thinks of Egypt, like in a religious sense, as a whore who longs for her lover, whose genitalia is as horses, and whose emission is as donkeys. In the Bible. And people come up to me, you shouldn't use the word fuck. So it's an informed opinion of saying fuck. Anyway, so when the Japanese stuff comes over, the Japanese have had 50 years of producing comics with an understanding of, okay, so tits. Tits compared to guns. Okay, so guns as weapons and tits as sex. We were nuked, so you know what? Tits are pretty much okay. Guns, let's be looking like in the Japanese comics, the showing of somebody with a box cutter knife, like, that's still pretty, I mean, there's a lot of really, really crazy shit that goes out there, but for mass market stuff, somebody comes up with a box cutter or guns or something like that, and it's like Kenichi Sonata, who did Gunsmith Cats, right? He has really, really finely detailed modern firearm stuff.
Uh-oh.
And in Japan, he's also got rape implied, strongly implied, very strongly implied, and fellatio performed on handguns and some of the later stuff. And that's considered, out there. But the gun stuff, that shit is, somebody comes out with a boxer and he goes, what? And Japanese society doesn't have a lot of guns because they're on islands, so the whole gun control thing works fairly well. Like, no guns. We're going to bring this gun onto this island. Oh, there's a port authority. The port authority says, no, fuck off. So the amount of guns in Japan is lower than it is in Canada. So Japan, their view of tits, right? It's like, they're tits. Same with dick, same with vag. Like, it's just the human body, whatever. We use it to fuck. And do a bunch of other things, but mostly fuck, according to the Japanese. The human body and the octopus body. Anyway, so then you start bringing that stuff over here, right? And you have sort of a culture clash. Because we're like, oh, okay, you want to do guns with cats. Cool. So it's about chicks and guns. That's cool. Oh, one of them has sex. Oh, we can't sell that to kids. But she shoots a guy in the face with a shotgun. Yeah, but then she gives the guy a blowjob, and we can't have that. So, a lot of the stuff you'll find, like a reason that you'll see some stuff is PG-13, I don't know what our room ratings are, but here at Otafest, we'll have some rooms that are 18 plus and some that are 14 plus. And the 14 plus stuff, you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of dudes getting their faces chewed off in this film. And it's perfectly okay. In Japan, less so, but here it's perfectly okay because we're like, violence and death, more power to you. Let's kill some fuckers. But don't show them having sex because giving life to another being is not something we're allowed to look at. It would make us dirty. Anyways, Gunslinger Girl, which is about horribly damaged girls who were given android bodies and then told to kill.
Go $5 for that.
$10.
$20.
That happened fast.
Damn.
That
We're at 20 over here, I think.
He said 25.
25,
30.
30,
35.
35, 40. Carry on.
It's all yours.
We got 40 for three episodes, three editions of Gunslinger Girl.
That's for a good cause.
Yeah, it is.
Gunslinger?
It's also like a
Probably not. You guys brought
the
it.
story is interesting.
It's probably
I've seen the anime, but I've never watched that yet.
I was very adamant about having the first.
So we got 40 for
volume
three
and
things
the
of
very
Gunslinger,
front
three
one.
volumes of Gunslinger Girl. Going once.
As an adamant,
45,
he
thank you.
will not command any.
46.5.
Uh-oh.
45 going once.
50.
50. Once, twice, sold. Thank you, sir. Excellent.